Hello, welcome you all. Myself MP Misra, Faculty School of Computer and Information Sciences. In this session, I am with you on topic multi-threading in Java. This particular topic is related to MCS 024 course, that is Java programming course, and this course is part of MCA second semester as well as BCA fourth semester. So as you know, programming practices is having a lot of conceptual requirement, a lot of different kind of approaches to solve the problem. So if we take one of those approaches, so one approach is that how we can handle a complex problem with the help of implementing some simplicity as well as to get more utilization of the resource, that is the CPU. So main objective of multi-threaded programming is to make our program in smaller chunks, that is different threads, and by doing that make our program capable to utilize the CPU to the maximum extent possible. So in this context, if we talk about multi-threading, so in your operating system course about multi-threading you will be learning more, or you might have learned about multi-threading. So multi-threading is nothing but basically it talks about that it is having different mechanism to write the program, and that different mechanism is what? Multi-threading means multiple flow of control. It means in a single program you are creating multiple flows, and multi-threading programming is a conceptual paradigm for preparing where a paradigm is divided into two or more processes which can be run in parallel. So here if we are talking about processes, it don't means one independent program, some section inside a single program that we are talking about. It means if we are using the term process in context of multi-threading, it is a independent entity that can run simultaneously or parallelly with another independent entity in the same program. So one program is having multiple independent entities, and those independent entities we are saying independent processes. Simultaneous execution of two or more parts of a program is to gain the maximum utilization of CPU. So here if we are talking about execution of two or more than two part of the program, so that different part of the programs are referred as independent processes, and those independent processes we say are threads. So programming with multi-threads will in general result in better utilization of the CPU, and several problems can be solved in much more better way by using the multi-threaded. We will see few examples that how we can use multi-threading concept. And as far as Java is concerned, Java provide multi-threading facility, or it is having API and it is having classes available in it. It is having several methods in those different classes to use the conceptual framework of multi-threading while you are developing your program. Java allows to write program where more than one process can execute concurrently within single program, so that independent processes or several processes are threads, and we will see how we can create threads by going through some examples. And Java threads are often referred to as lightweight threads, which means they can run in the same memory space. So if we are running the program in same memory space, then it is most likely that we don't have to leave the memory, then another program will come, and that happens in multi-programming or in that environment in which you are having multiple programs, and those multiple programs are switched from one to another. So if you are switching from one program to another, then you are leaving the memory and another program is loaded in the memory, then that program get executed. But in multi-threaded environment, if you are writing, your single program is loaded in the memory, and if different threads are executing, so they are using the same memory space and sometimes same common variable also. So that common variable can be accessed by different threads. So context switching is not taking much more time. So it takes one more advantage that you are saving the execution time as well as sometime more efficient programming you can do with the help of multi-threading. Because Java threads run in the same memory space, they can easily communicate among themselves because they are in one environment only and they are loaded in that particular memory space. The whole program is loaded, and if that whole program is divided into multiple sub-processes or multiple processes as we are saying, so those different processes can execute simultaneously and they can perform the activity as well as they can communicate with each other also. It means one thread can communicate to another thread. Let us see some example of multi-threading scenario or how we can use multi-threading. One example is if you are going to develop some animation. So in that animation, if different activities are happening, so for all those different activities we can create separate thread, and those separate thread can execute as and when they are getting the chance of the execution of the memory. Obviously JVM will be managing those all activities, or internal management will be there, but from your side you can create different threads and you can put those all things for execution, and as per the scheduling of that particular CPU by the machine, that different threads will get chance to execute the section which they are assigned to, or the code which is written for those different threads. Another example is the gaming application. Multi-threading is extensively used in gaming application. If you are developing different games, so in that you can see that there are different objects which are performing different activities, or different objects are doing some assigned activities. So those all different objects can be created in terms of different threads, and those different threads can be executed as per the specific coding of those different threads requirement. Similarly, database query, if you are having a complex query, in that query you are having different subqueries. So for all those different subqueries or independent subqueries, you can perform the activities, or you can write different threads to perform the activity. And most common example is the web browser. In that you see that multiple uploading and downloading of the file you can do simultaneously. So those different simultaneous execution of the activities are nothing but different threads are running simultaneously, and whenever they are getting assigned time in the CPU, they are performing the activity. And similarly, in web application or web services, if there are, let us say, very large number of users who are hitting the system or who are hitting the server, so how actually those different users will be managed? For that, either you have to create different instance in terms of thread, or you have to do some kind of pooling mechanism. So one option is that you can create different threads and you can assign those different threads to different requests which are coming to your web server or web application. So in that way, multi-threading is a very good tool to develop applications. And one more thing is there, that by writing code using multi-threading concept provide you more conceptual clarity as well as provide you capability to manage complexity of the system. If a system is very complex, and that particular complex system, if developed using multi-threading, the complexity of the system can be managed. Obviously, there are some more specific requirement in terms of utilization of resources, utilization of common resources, whether some resource is critical and that particular cannot be shared by different threads simultaneously. So the concept of synchronization or blocking of those resources also comes in multi-threading, as you can learn or you might have learned in your operating system course. So in that you can explore the basic concept of the multi-threading and how actually those things happen, and conceptually those things are there, but in Java, in terms of implementation, APIs is provided and different methods and mechanism are provided, and that we will be trying to explore in this session, that how actually we can use those things to write our multi-threaded program. So In Java specifically, if we try to see that what actually a thread is, then we can say that everything about thread that are defined in a class, that is known as thread. The thread class is encapsulation of all the controls which is required for managing the thread. So thread class is very important class which is provided by Java environment, or it is part of the Java API. So that particular thread class you can use, and we will see that how by using thread class we can create our own thread, and how different methods of thread class we can use to perform different activities. Now, if we are talking about thread, thread means, here we are saying in a simple term, that is thread is a process. So if there is a process, so that process will be having different stages, or it will be having different, at different moment of time they will be in different state, and those different state are the new thread. Once a thread is created, that particular is a new thread. Runnable means once a new thread is created and it is started by using start method, then it is ready for execution, and that particular thread is in runnable state. And not runnable means either thread is completed its activity, that is thread is dead, or thread has been suspended or stopped for some moment of the time as per the requirement of the program, so it is not in runnable state. So these are the basic states of the thread, and here in this diagram you can see that what are the different stages. The thread created in the entry level, that is new thread, then it comes into runnable once start method is invoked on the thread. From runnable it will go into running, and yield you can do, you can stop for some moment of time, and then in between waiting, sleep and block. That particular cycle is providing you the implementation capability. Basically your programming skill or programming logic will demand different activities from different threads. It may be that some thread is performing some activity, and under certain conditions you want to stop that particular thread for some specific moment of time, or until unless some specific conditions are made. So you can perform those activities by invoking those different methods. Here these methods are written, and some of these methods I will be explaining in this session itself, and we will be seeing that how actually these methods can be used. For example, suspend, sleep and wait, these are the methods which are going to block the execution of the specific running thread. But in different contexts, different methods are used. For example, suspend means we are suspending under certain condition, and once that condition is met, we can resume. So for coming out of suspension, resume method is there. Similarly, sleep method is a method which provides you capability to block your thread for some specific moment of time. After that your thread is ready for execution again, and once the CPU is available for that particular thread, that thread will execute. And similarly, wait is a method that can be used to apply on a specific thread, and once that particular method has been applied, it means that particular thread will be waiting for some specific moment of time until unless some notifications comes that you have to come out of your wait and you have to be ready for execution. Now, how we can create our own thread? That is the basic purpose of this session, that to see that how actually we can write program to create our own thread, or how we can do multi-threaded programming using Java. So basically there are two methods for creating thread in Java. One is by extending a subclass or creating a subclass using thread class. And in that thread class, you will be having one method. That method is defined named run, and that method you have to override or you have to define in your subclass. Until unless you define your run method, your own created thread subclass will not be in position to have implementation. So you can say that run method is a kind of abstract method, or it is a compulsory method that you have to implement in your subclassing process when you are inheriting from thread class. So this run method contains the actual task that you have to perform. So whatever logic that particular thread will be performing, that logic you have to implement in your run method. So basically run method is the core of any thread. So if you are creating any thread, and for that definitely you have to implement run method. So in run method, whatever code you are writing, that particular code will be performing the activities you are going to assign to that specific thread for which you are implementing the run method. And similarly, start method is there. Once you create the thread and you call start method, so your thread is now in position to run, and it is in runnable state, and it is waiting for the CPU, and once CPU is assigned, that particular thread will execute the run method. Now let us see this program. In this program we have tried to create our own thread, and basically if you see this program closely, we are having on this screen two subclasses. Thread A extend from thread class, similarly thread B which is also extended from thread class. Now you see in those thread subclasses, that is thread A and thread B, we have code written for run method, means we have implemented run method. So what this particular thread A is going to do? Thread A, you can see it is going to generate table of 2. Similarly thread B is going to generate table of 5. Very simple program. I am having objective to create two threads, and those two different threads are supposed to perform the activity. One is that the thread will create a table of 2 or generate a table of 2, and similarly second thread will generate table of 5. It's okay. Now let me move further. We have created two subclass, thread A and thread B. Now see, you have created your own class for executing, and in that particular your main method is there. What you did? You created object A of type thread A, means your subclass thread A is having one object and have been used to create one object. Similarly thread B subclass has been used to create another object. Now A dot start and B dot start is done. It means thread A is now in runnable state. Similarly thread B is now in runnable state, and if these two threads are in runnable state, as soon as CPU will be allocated to these threads, they will execute. And suppose CPU is allocated to thread A, then whatever inside the run method of thread A is written, that will be executed. And similarly if CPU is allocated to thread B, whatever written in the run method for thread B class, that particular will be executed. And one more thing here we have to note, that once a thread is in runnable state, then it is not guaranteed that in which order you have created the thread, exactly in that order execution will happen. It's all depend on how actually the internally the JVM is managing the utilization of the CPU and allocating CPU to different threads. So now let us see one instance of execution of this particular program. Here you can see that both thread has been executed and both thread are having their own output. Now how CPU has been allocated to those threads, how different execution has taken place, that you can see just by closely looking into the output of the program. So this particular output is indicating us the way the CPU has been allocated to different threads. So you try similar exercises. Basically, when you are doing multi-threaded programming, it is not that you have to create only one thread class, or you have to just inherit only one thread class. It is up to the requirement of your individual programming problem, that how many threads you are creating and what are the different activities from those different threads you are going to perform. And obviously, once you will get into that particular programming aspect, you will be trying to explore some more possibilities to find out that how we can develop mechanism to communicate from one thread to another thread, how some common pool data or common pool methods can be utilized. So all those things at the level of incremental complexity you will learn, and you will try to get more exposure and more expertise in multi-threaded programming. Now let me come to the second way of creating thread. Second way is that there is an interface that is known as runnable interface, and that particular runnable interface is available in java.lang package, and that particular interface is having one method, that is run method, and that particular run method you have to implement in your class once you are implementing the runnable interface. So now let me see one more program again. This particular program is creating thread using implementation of runnable interface. So in this you can see one class we are implementing, in which we are implementing runnable interface. This class is named as myThread, and that particular implements runnable interface. In this you can see one thing, that is we are having some data member here. That one data member is the type string name, and second is one integer variable. Then we have created one object of class thread, and then we are defining constructor here, myThread. In that particular constructor, how many arguments we are passing? 2 arguments. So this constructor is a 2 argument constructor. The first argument is being used for the passing the name of the thread as parameter, and second is being passed for some integer value assignment for the purpose of some logical operation which is supposed to be performed by the thread. So that constructor we have created, and after creating the constructor we are printing the thread, and after that we are invoking the start method. It means t.start is making the thread t runnable. Now what we are doing inside the run method? Inside the run method we are doing, you see a for loop is running, and inside that for loop we are trying to run the thread that many times, and that j is what? J is the value which we have passed. It means we are controlling the running of the loop by passing the integer argument at the time of making up our own constructor. So it is just a simple exercise that is showing that we are creating a thread, or we are going to create several instances of that particular myThread class, and those several instances we are creating with the help of multiple different integer values. So that many times that loop is going to run, and that many times the name of the thread will be displayed. And another method is used there, that is thread.sleep. This sleep method is basically going to pause that particular thread for some specific moment of time, and that particular specific moment of time is here 1000, and so it is going to pause for 1000 millisecond. So unit of the time which is passed in the sleep method is in milliseconds. So 1000 millisecond the processing will pause and then it will be executed. So basically this sleep is used to just see the observation of different activities happening on the screen, because within no time maybe a small loop will be executed, but if you want to see the things running, so in that case you can use the sleep method, and for that moment of time the processing will be stopped, and then you will see that how actually the things are moving in your execution process. So one more thing here you can observe, that because we are using the sleep method, so sleep method is supposed to generate some exception, and that particular exception is interrupted exception. So to handle that particular exception, it is essential to use try and catch. If you are not using try and catch, you will face a problem, that is the problem at the compilation time itself, because that method is supposed to be generating, or is there possibility to generate that particular type of exception. So mechanism for handling that exception is essential. So here exception handling has been done. If exception is not occurring, obviously in that particular section your control of the program will not go, and that particular line that interrupted will not be printed in your program, and once the process is completed, it will be coming out of your execution, and finally it is going to display exiting. Now here see, we have created 3 objects of myThread class. In myThread1 we have passed integer 4, it means that particular loop will run 4 times, and then in next we have passed 5, and in the third one we have passed 8. It means the first object once run its run method, it will be running that particular loop 4 times. Second object or second thread will be running 5 times, and in third thread it will be running 8 times. So here purpose is that once you are creating thread and you are going to perform different activities, for example let us say in gaming application, so if you are creating some object and your object is supposed to perform some activity, so that activity can be controlled at the time of creation of object itself, or at the time of implementation of that particular logic inside the program, or inside your run method basically, because run method is the backbone of whole multi-threaded programming program implementation. So whatever you are writing in your run method, that is actually the representation of your thread activities. So there you can write the things and you can see. Now let us move further and see what output is there. So you see thread 1 is running, then another thread is running, then another thread is running. So it is up to the CPU that how those different threads are assigned the CPU and how those different threads are executing, and finally you will be exiting from the thread. So these are the 2 different implementations or mechanism of implementation of thread. So in Java multi-threaded programming, a thread can be created by using one of the 2 approaches. One is by extending the thread class, and another is by implementing the runnable interface, and in both processes you are having run method, and that run method you have to implement of your own as per the specific requirement of the thread you are creating. Now let us see some useful methods. So the very first method, that is start method, we have already seen that you have to call start method on the thread to make the thread runnable. Basically once you call the start method, your thread is ready to run and it is waiting for the CPU time. Once CPU time is allocated, it will be running. Stop method is used to stop the thread immediately. So it is a kind of forceful stop of the thread, because after completion of the execution process, thread is automatically going to stop or in the dead state. But once you are making your thread stop, then you are forcefully stopping the thread. So this forceful stop method will be used when you are running a multi-threaded program and you are checking certain condition and that particular condition is met, and in that condition you have to stop that particular specific thread. So on that thread you can call the stop method. Similarly, suspend, you can suspend the running thread for the time being and restore later on, and for restoring you have to use resume method. And sleep method, as we have seen that this particular method is used to stop the current thread or send that particular current thread in sleep mode for a specific moment of time, and that moment of time is given in terms of millisecond. And after that time elapses, your thread is again in runnable state and it is waiting for the CPU to get its chance and get executed further. Now, few more methods related to thread are given here. So one method is the current thread. This particular method is static and this method returns the information about the thread object which is running currently in your program. Set name method is used to assign some specific name to your thread, and similarly get name is used for getting the name of the specific thread. So basically set name can be used for providing some kind of identification to different threads, and once obviously you are doing the programming and you need some kind of identification of those different threads, so by different naming or different name you can identify those different threads, and that name you can get with the help of get name method. And one very important method in this multi-threading programming is the thread priority. Thread priority basically is a concept which is associated with multi-threaded programming in Java, and this thread priority concept says that once you are assigning priority to different threads, then as per those assigned priority, different threads will get executed. It means the thread which is having higher priority will get priority over which is having less priority assigned to it. So on the basis of priority also you can assign the order of execution of different thread in your multi-threaded programming practice. And set priority method is used to assign priority to a specific thread. Let us say once you have created a thread and that particular thread by default will be having its normal priority. By default any thread will be having norm priority, and that norm priority is priority value 5, and min priority is having priority value 1 and max priority is having priority value 10. So it means 1 to 10 you can assign any priority to your thread by using set priority method. And this min priority, norm priority and max priority are the constant available in the thread class, and these constants can be used to assign the fixed priority value which is 1, 5 and 10. Otherwise also you can assign the priority using your set priority method. And the get priority method, this get priority method is used for the purpose of getting the priority of a specific thread. For example, suppose you want to know the priority of a thread, so on that particular thread you can apply this get priority and it will return one integer value between 1 to 10, and that particular priority you can use for your decision making process, or on the basis of that observation you can change the priority of the thread as per specific requirement of your solution. Is alive method, this particular method is used to check the status of the thread, whether this particular thread is currently is in alive position or that particular thread has completed its execution and it is in it has reached to the dead state, and on the basis of that you can make decisions for further activities in your program. So basically in programming skill you always play with different conditions, play with different kind of requirements, and all those different things basically force you to make your decisions dynamically, and that dynamic decision happens on the basis of the different dynamic values or different values which are generated during the program execution. So those all things you keep on performing in your program, and you can obviously keep on doing different activities as per those specific program logic requirements. So these methods we will see. Now here you see, in this particular program we have tried to just learn that how actually we can use the set priority and get priority method. So here you see your one program is created using thread class. In this particular running thread, then you are using the get name method to get the name of the thread, and then you are using get priority method to get the priority of the thread. So this one line of system.out.println statement is very important for us, because of the better visibility. This one line statement I have breakdown and I have written in 3 lines, but here you can see what is our purpose of writing this particular line: to display the name of the thread and to display the priority of the thread. So this single line is going to display the name and priority of the thread object, because this we are using. So as you know, this represents the current object. So whatsoever the object currently is under execution, for that object this particular method will be executing, or this particular method will be displaying or printing the content which is given inside. So the content given is displaying the name of the thread and displaying the priority of that particular thread. Now let us see further what we have done here. Here we have created threads. At the first thread we have created multi-thread object, and that particular multi-thread what we have done, multi-thread, then we have used set name method. In that set name method we have passed first thread. So first thread is nothing but name of the multi-thread thread object. Similarly we have assigned min priority to that particular object. Then again we have created multi-thread 2 object. So in that multi-thread 2 object we have again set the name of that particular thread object as second thread, and that particular object again has been assigned priority max priority. So these 2 things we have done, and again in the third one what we have done, in third one again name we have provided, and in that particular we have not provided any priority. So third one is going to be assigned default priority provided by the Java programming environment or Java programming setup. Now what we did next, on all the 3 objects we have called start method. It means all the 3 threads are now in running state and they will be executing the different activities. Now you see, these 3 different threads will be running, and these 3 different threads will be displaying their name and their priority. So because max priority we have assigned to a thread, so obviously the thread which is having max priority, that particular thread will be executing as per that assigned priority. So you can see the thread name and their priority is displayed in the output. So this is the simple process of checking that how actually we can use our different methods or different approaches available for making our multi-programming more extensible by using different methods. So in this particular exercise we have seen 3 methods. One is set, not 3, 4 methods. One set name, another get name, next one set priority, and the last one get priority. So these 4 methods we have used in this particular program, and we have demonstrated that how actually we can use these different methods. Now one more very important aspect in multi-threaded programming comes, that is the thread synchronization. And thread synchronization basically talks about that if you are having some resources and those resources you are going to use for multiple threads, or common resources you are going to use for multiple threads, and if those resources are critical, for example the state of those resources may get disturbed if multiple threads are trying to access simultaneously, then you need some kind of control mechanism on those resources, and that control mechanism leads towards synchronization of different threads. That synchronization means you will provide access of those resources to different threads in a very controlled environment, or rather one by one. For example, once a thread is accessing that particular resource, maybe another thread will not be in position to access that until unless the thread which is currently accessing the resource come out of that particular resource or leave that particular resource. So that can be done with the help of synchronization of the threads, or synchronization of basically the resource, and providing access to different threads. So that resource may be some code or some section of your code, maybe a block, or maybe some variables. It's all depend on the specific problem, that what kind of resources are critical and how you are going to manage. And basically in some real-time environment and in some type of transaction processing, these kind of activities happens, and you might be aware about readers writers problem that also demands synchronization so that consistency can be maintained. So to maintain the consistency, synchronization is very important. And one more aspect is there, that is inter-thread communication. So in inter-thread communication, one is that there is some common data, and that common data can be used by the multiple threads. As we have seen in our one example, that we were having one common data and that was available to be accessed by the different threads. Now next is communicate between the threads using wait and notify method. It means that if you want to put some particular thread on wait, you can apply the wait method, and then if you want to invoke that thread from the wait method and make it into ready state, then you can notify it or notify all. Notify means you will be notifying to the specific thread only, and notify all means you will be notifying to all the threads which are in wait state. So all these basic exercises you can do, and in the last, before conclusion of this session, let me very quickly try to summarize our discussion in this particular session. So we tried to see that what actually multi-threading is. So in Java, multi-threading is nothing but different parts of the program you are making in terms of thread, and those different parts can be executed independently, and those different parts sometimes you termed as multiple processes. And one most important advantage of multi-threading is that in a single CPU system you are running multiple processes simultaneously, and the utilization of CPU you are trying to maximize, and in that process creating thread by using two different approaches we have seen. That one is using the runnable interface, and another is by extending the thread class. And in this process we have learned that how we can assign the name to thread, how we can get the name of a thread, how we can set the priority to a specific thread. And in the last we tried to touch upon that when we are doing multi-threading, if some critical resources are there, how actually we will be managing critical resources with the help of synchronization. So I will try to come to you on topic synchronization in the future, and we will try to see that how actually we can implement synchronization in multi-threaded environment. So with this, I thank you all for your time and watching to this particular session.